Hi everyone, you're welcome to my channel. If you're watching this video right now and you're wondering why you have a bad breath despite the fact you brush every morning, or you know someone that has a bad breath, your partner, your friend, and you know that these people brush every morning, then this video is for you. Definitely keep on watching. Now, I have like five possible reasons why people come down with bad breath. The number one reason on my list is that you don't brush very well. Yeah, I know it sounds pretty much obvious, but then people think that the harder they brush their teeth, the more or the less their chances of coming down with a mouth odor. But that's not exactly what happens. No matter how hard you scrub your teeth, if you don't brush your tongue, your mouth is going to smell really bad. And as obvious as this may sound, people forget to brush their tongue because you might be brushing and you're talking with somebody or you're thinking about so many things. You just think, oh, I'm done brushing and I just rinsed my mouth. And then some people brush their tongue and they don't brush it well, especially children. So if you're a mother and you notice that your child has a bad breath, he or she is most likely not brushing very well. Now, this is not to say that because you want to brush your tongue, you'd go and get a knife or a hoe. Like, I actually met a man like a couple of weeks back. He uses a knife to brush his tongue. And he told me that he had actually taught his kids how to use a knife on that. I'm like, Oga? He said yes, that he doesn't want a situation whereby he's talking to somebody and the person is uncomfortable because he has a bad breath. I'm like, you don't have to use a knife on your tongue. Your brush is enough. But if for any reason you want to use something other than a brush on your tongue, then it should be a tongue scraper, which is meant specifically for your tongue. Please don't use a knife to scrape your tongue. Don't use a hoe or any other funny thing on your tongue, because if you do that, you'd feel the long-term consequence on the long run. Now, the second reason why people have a bad breath is that you have a hole in your teeth, or they have a hole in your teeth. When you have a hole in your teeth, when you eat, food will definitely get into that hole, and because it's a hole, your normal brushing would not be able to remove the food from the hole. So microorganisms in that hole in your teeth would act on the food, ferment it and produce a very foul smell. Usually, if you're aware you have a hole in your teeth and you notice that food gets stuck in between, like if you notice that food gets in between into the hole, you notice that whenever you bring out that whatever thing, maybe it's a meat or anything, you notice it smells really bad. So imagine what happens when it stays for a long time. You're definitely going to have a bad breath. So also, if you're a parent and you notice your child has a bad breath, it would be very nice to take the child to the dentist so that she or he would be properly examined and treated appropriately. The third possible reason why people have a bad breath is that you're dehydrated. I know it doesn't really sound, how can I be dehydrated and then I'm having a bad breath? Yes, water is very important. The importance of water cannot be overemphasized. So if you're not taking enough water, you'll be making enough saliva. And saliva to an extent has an antimicrobial property. It helps like flush the mouth, rinse it off the organisms there. So if you're not taking enough water, you won't make enough saliva, right? And you're going to have a dry mouth. If you have a dry mouth, it would enable the overgrowth of microorganisms in your mouth, and these microorganisms cause the foul smell. Now, your dry mouth might not exactly be because you're not taking enough water. It could be as a result of some drugs you're taking. Some pills cause dry mouth. So if you're taking drugs, you might want to ask your physician the side effects of the drug, so you do know whether it is a drug that is making you have a dry mouth. I talked about not brushing your tongue. I've talked about having a hole in your teeth. I've talked about you being dehydrated. The fourth reason why people have a bad breath is that they take in something that is foul smelling. This doesn't have to be something really bad. Like, some of these things are actually very healthy. Things like ginger, garlic, onions, boiled egg. Ginger is the worst of them all. Ginger smells very bad. And then usually when I come close to someone that eats ginger or that just took ginger, the person doesn't even have to say anything, and I perceive it. It's as if it permeates, the smell permeates the person's pores, and it's very uncomfortable. So I wouldn't say you should stop eating those things, but recommend that if you'd want to eat them, you might want to blend them into your food rather than just taking them raw. And whenever you take them, brush, take mint, whatever it is that can freshen your breath. I think that could help in reducing the concentration of the smell, because the smell is not very pleasant. Now, the fifth reason why people have a bad breath is that they have an underlying disease or sickness. There are a number of diseases that have oral manifestations that present as bad breath. Diabetes. Probably you have, or the person has a problem with their liver, their kidney, their digestive system, even with their respiratory tract. So HIV/AIDS, HIV/AIDS, cancer. Like, there are a number of things that can actually make you or make someone have bad breath, other than not brushing and all that stuff I mentioned. So I would really advise that if you're having a bad breath, I know it's something that is very inconveniencing, and people might not tell you because they don't want to hurt you, they don't want to say anything that would affect your self-confidence or your ego. I would really recommend you visit a dentist so that you will be properly examined, and then specific treatment that suits whatever thing that is causing your bad breath or the person's bad breath would be properly given. Yes. So I don't know how to say this though. Like, I've met a number of people who say, I think I have a bad breath, I think I have a bad breath. Most of the time they don't have a bad breath. It's not something known as psychogenic halitosis, where you think you have a bad breath when in reality you don't. So if you're going through that, if you're watching this video now and you're beginning to think, maybe I even have a bad breath though, you'd have to visit the dentist. And of course, your dentist is not going to lie to you, even if you don't believe what your spouse is saying or what your children are saying to you or what your friends are saying. If you visit the dentist, you'd also be properly examined, and whatever thing, if it's something that will require a series of investigations, of course you're going to be subjected to all that, so that you'd have a very healthy breath. I know that you also might be wondering whether there is a correlation between bad breath or mouth odor and body odor. Yes, so people think about that a lot. I would say a yes and a no. A yes in the sense that if someone generally has a poor hygiene, then of course the body won't be left out. If you have a poor hygiene, if someone doesn't brush, the person doesn't have his or her bath, the person is going to not smell good. So of course this person's mouth would have a bad odor, and of course the person's body will have a bad odor. Other than that, there is this very rare disorder known as fish odor syndrome. It's a genetic disorder. I wouldn't want to bore you with that, but yes, so people that have that syndrome, they actually smell like rotten fish. It's not a pleasant thing, of course. So, but it's very rare. It's not something that you come across very often. It's something if it's something you're interested in reading, of course you can always look it up online and all. That's the only situation where someone can actually have a breath that smells bad and a body that smells bad. So thank you very much for watching my video. If you watched up until this point, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I upload my video. And of course, as always, if you have questions, if you have comments, recommendations, if there are videos or if there are topics you would like me to talk about, leave them in the comment section, and I'll really appreciate it. Thank you guys. See you in my next video. Bye.